Hello, everybody. So we're going to continue with Module 5 today. And in today's lesson, we're going to be working on adding and subtracting decimals. So let's look at the Explore activity. You will need two different colors for this activity. And so you have probably used decimal grids to model decimals in previous grades. For example, the decimal 25 hundredths or 25 over 100 can be modeled by shading 25 squares in a 10 by 10 grid. You can also use decimal grids to add decimal values. So a chemist combines or adds 17 hundredths milliliter of water and 49 hundredths milliliter of hydrogen peroxide in a beaker. How much total liquid is in the beaker? So how many grid squares should you shade to represent 17 hundredths milliliters of water? Well, 17. Because 17 hundredths means 17 over 100 or 17 out of 100. So how many grids should you shade to represent 49 hundredths milliliters of hydrogen peroxide? 49. And for the same reason, because 0.49 means 49 hundredths. All right, so use the grid to the right to model the addition. Use one color for 17 hundredths milliliter and another color for 49 hundredths milliliter. All right, so 17 hundredths. We know this is a 10 by 10 grid, so it doesn't matter which order you shade. Okay, so that represents 17 hundredths, and the other one represent 49 hundredths. Okay, so that's 3. 13, 23, 33, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Okay, so how much total liquid is there? Whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 62, 64, 66 hundredths. Okay. All right. So show how to shade each grid to represent the sum, and then find the sum. So 24 hundredths. Okay, we know it's going to be 2 rows of 10 plus 4 extras, and 71 hundredths. Okay, so we know there's 6 left in this row. So 6, 16, 26, 36, 46, 56, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71. Okay, so how much do we have? Well, I know there's 100 in the grid, and there's only 5 that are not shaded, so 95 hundredths. All right, 8 hundredths. Okay, so just 8. And then 65 hundredths. So we have 2, 12, 22, 30. Sorry, 2, 12, 22, 32, 42, 52, 62, 63, 64, 65. Okay, so how much is 65 hundredths plus 8 hundredths? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 3 hundredths. Okay, so that's how we modeled the decimals. So let's go to page 114. Okay, well, adding decimals is similar to adding whole numbers. We just have to align the numbers by place value and start adding at the right and regroup when necessary. Bring down the decimal point into your answer. And so example 1 shows that. So Susan rode her bicycle 3 and 12 hundredths miles on Monday and 4 and 7/10 miles on Tuesday. How many miles did she ride in all? So make sure we line up the decimals because we have to add by correct place value. And so lining up the decimal ensures that we're adding the similar place values. So align the decimals, 3 and 1/12 and 4 and 7/10. And we can add zeros as placeholders when necessary. Their equivalent values. 4.7 is the same as 4 and 70 hundredths. And we'll just add right to left. Okay? So she rode 7 and 82 hundredths miles in all. And we can use estimation to check that our answer is reasonable. 3 and 1/12, that's close to 3. And 4 and 70 hundredths would get rounded up to 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. And 7 and 82 hundredths is close to 8. So our answer is reasonable. So why can we rewrite 4.7 as 4.70? Well, 7/10 would have the same area model as 70 hundredths. So 4.7 equals 4.70. Why is it important to align the decimal points when adding? Well, if we don't, we wouldn't be adding the same place values. Okay. So aligning the decimal points ensures that we're adding digits with the same place value. All right, so let's add 42 hundredths and 27 hundredths. Okay, so line up the decimal points and then add right to left. 9 hundredths, 4/10 plus 2/10 is 6/10, and 0 ones plus 0 ones is 0, so 69 hundredths. 61 hundredths plus 329 thousandths. Line up the decimals, and we can put a placeholder, 0 as a placeholder in 61 hundredths, and add right to left. 9 thousandths, 3/10, 3 hundredths, 9/10, and 0 ones. Number 7. Three and 25 hundredths plus 4.6. We've lined up the decimal points. We can add a placeholder 0 and just add 5 hundredths, 8/10, 7 ones. So 7 and 85 hundredths. And the last one on this page, 17 and 27 hundredths plus 3 and 88 hundredths. Okay, so decimal points are lined up, place values lined up. So we have 15 hundredths We have 10 tenths plus the extra tenth. That's 11 tenths. Regroup that as 1 whole and 1 tenth. 7 plus 3 ones is 10 ones, plus the regrouped 1 is 11 ones. We'll regroup that as 110 and 1 1. And 110 plus 110 is 2 tenths. So 21 and 15 hundredths. Okay, let's go on to page 115. All right, so subtracting decimals. Well, we're going to basically follow the same procedure for subtracting decimals as you would for adding decimals. So basically, that means we have to line up the decimal points and then subtract right to left. So here's the example. Mia is 160 and 2/10 centimeters tall. Rosa is 165 and 1/10 centimeters tall. How much taller is Rosa than Mia? So we're going to align the decimal points. 165 and 1/10 minus 160 and 2/10. And we can add zeros as placeholders as necessary. For instance, if this was just 165 minus 160.2, we would add a 0.0 here, okay, so that we have the same digits. All right, so subtract right to left. All right, we can check our answer by rounding to the nearest whole number. 165 and 1/10 is 165. 160 and 2/10 is 160. Subtract, we get 5. And 4.9 is close to 5. So you know your answer is reasonable. All right, here's another example. Matthew throws the discus 58 and 7/10 meter. Zachary throws the discus 56 and 12/10 meters, 1200 meters. How much farther did Matthew throw the discus? So again, line up the decimal points. So you notice here we have 58.7, and in the other number that we're taking away, we have 56 and 12 hundredths. So here where we have to subtract 2, there wasn't anything here. So we do want to put the 0 there as a placeholder, okay? Because then we can subtract. All right, so he threw the discus 2 and 58 hundredths meters farther. If we rounded that to check our estimate, check our answer for reasonableness, 58 and 7/10 is close to 59, and 56 and 12 hundredths is close to 56. So we get an answer of 3, which is close to 2.58. Right, so 116. Right, shade the grid to show the sum. So 72 hundredths. Okay, so that's 72. And we have to add 19 hundredths. So we have 8 left in this row. Plus 10 more is 18. Plus 1 more hundredths is 19. So we see that we only have 9 left. So that means the answer is 91 hundredths. Number 2, 38 hundredths. So 3 full rows. And 8 out of 10 in the final row. And 4/10 is the same as 40 hundredths. So we have 2/10 there. So 12, 22, 32. And we need 8 more to get to 40. So how much do we have? We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 78 hundredths. Okay, number 3. Okay, so we're just adding these. They have lined up the decimal points for us. They've actually even estimated for us, so we should get an answer that's close to 62. All right, so 8 and 7 hundredths is 15 hundredths. Regroup as 1/10 and 5 hundredths. 8 tenths plus 4 tenths plus the regroup tenth is 13 tenths. Regroup that as 1 whole and 3 tenths. Bring the decimal point down. 4 and 1 is 5 tenths. 5 plus 7 more is 12 ones. Regroup that as 1/10 and 2 ones. And 5 tens plus 1/10 is 6 tenths. So 62 and 35 hundredths, which is close to our estimate of 62. So the answer is reasonable. All right, 2 and 19 hundredths. Well, that's going to get rounded to 2. And 34 and 92 hundredths will be 35. So 32 and 35. 35 and 2 is 37. So we should get an answer close to 37. And I came up with a sum of 37 and 11 hundredths, which is close to 37. All right, number 5. All right, so 215 thousandths. If we round that, that's going to be close. That's going to be 0. And 3 and 74 hundredths, that's going to be 4. So we should expect an answer close to 4. Okay, and here we see we have 74 hundredths, and here we have 215 thousandths. So let's add a placeholder 0. So we have the same place values. 5 and 0 is 5. 4 and 1 is 5. 7 and 2 is 9. And 3 plus nothing is 3. So 3 and 955 thousandths is close to 4. Okay, number 6. Subtract and check that your answer is reasonable. So they rounded this for us, and so 10 take away 7 is 3. So we should have an answer that's close, a difference that's close to 3. All right, so 6 hundredths taken from 3 hundredths. Can't do that, so we're going to regroup. 13 hundredths take away 6 hundredths is 7 hundredths. 6 tenths take away 1/10 is 5 tenths. And 9 take away 7 is 2. And those are close together, so it's reasonable. 18 and 419 thousandths would round to 18. And 6 and 47 hundredths would round to 6. Subtract that, we get 12. All right, so here I see a digit in the thousandths place. Here I'm only going to the hundredths. So I'm going to put a 0 after the 7 tenths and then subtract right to left. I can't take 7 tenths from 1/10, so I'm going to regroup. I can't take 4 tenths from 3 tenths, so I'll regroup again. And so we come up with 11 and 949 thousandths, which is close to 12. 5 and 6 thousandths, that would get rounded to 5. And 3 and 2 tenths will get rounded to 3. So we're expecting an answer somewhere around 2. Right, this is 2 tenths. This has 6 thousandths. So let's add 2 placeholder zeros. Subtract 6, 0. I can't subtract 2 tenths from no tenths, so I'll regroup. And I get 1 and 806 thousandths, which is close to 2. All right, number 9. I'm going to use scratch paper for this because they didn't give me much room for this. So we're going to start with 17 and 2 tenths plus 12 and 9 tenths. Plus it's good practice for lining up decimal points. All right, so 9 tenths and 2 tenths is 11 tenths. Regroup that as 1 1 and let 1/10. 7 ones plus 2 ones is 9, plus the regrouped is 10 ones. Regroup that as 1/10 and 0 ones. And we have 3 tens, so 30 and 1/10. Number 10, 28 and 341 thousandths, plus 37 and 5/10. So on this one, I'm going to add 2 zeros as placeholders and just add right to left. So 65 and 841 thousandths. Okay, 11, 25 and 36 hundredths minus 2 and 4 thousandths. Okay, so this is thousandths, and this only goes to hundredths. So we want to put a placeholder 0 after the 6. And now we can subtract right to left. We're going to have to regroup to start. So we should come up with 23 and 356 thousandths. Okay, number 12, 15, 52 hundredths minus 8 and 17 hundredths. So we have the same number of digits. So 7 and 35 hundredths. Number 13, 25 and 68 hundredths plus 12. Okay, so we notice that there's no decimal point after the 12, but we can write the decimal point. Okay, we can say 12 and 0 hundredths. So 37 and 68 hundredths. Okay, 14, 150 and 25 hundredths minus 78. So again, there is a decimal point after 78. It's 78 and 0 hundredths. So 72 and 1/4, or 72 and 25 hundredths. All right, 15. Perry connects a blue garden hose and a green garden hose to make one long hose. The blue hose is 16 and 5 feet, 5/10 feet. The green hose is 14 and 75 hundredths feet. How long is the combined hose? So combined means add. So 16 and 5/10 plus 14 and 75 hundredths. All right, so we can put a placeholder after the 5/10. So 31 and 25 hundredths feet. And 16, Keisha has $20.08 in her purse. She buys a book for $8.72. How much does she have left? Okay. How much does she have left is a clue to subtract. So I see that our decimal values have the same digit, place value digits. 8 take away 2 hundredths is 6 hundredths. Can't take 7/10 from 0/10, but there are no ones to borrow from, so we regroup from the tens. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 ones take away 8 ones is 1. So $11.36. And 17. How is adding and subtracting decimals similar to adding and subtracting whole numbers? We're basically doing the same thing, right? When we add whole numbers, we have to line up the place value, right? You can't add hundreds with tens. Okay, so okay. So we align the digits by place value when we add or subtract decimals, just as you would do with the digits for whole numbers. All right, so we're going to stop there for part one of this lesson. In the next video, if you need continued help, you can use part two of lesson 5.2 and the independent practice.